All right. So we've got you here. Obviously, you are a 22-degree Virgo sun. You have your rising sign at 15 degrees Sag, and then your moon is at 29 degrees of Leo.
Really?
I use Placidus. So,
Mike I had always thought I was a Cancer rising.
it's 2:15 p.m.
Oh, it's AM. It's AM. I'm like, whoa.
That's why we check, because I'm like, wait a second.
Sorry about
It's okay, no worries. That's why we check. Okay, so let's save this. So then we've got 19 degrees Cancer rising, Sun in Virgo at 22 in the third, and then Moon at Leo at 22 in the second. So this is the 2:15 a.m. chart.
Yeah.
Wow, there's kind of a lot going on here. I guess my eye immediately kind of goes to just the fact that, you're, I don't know how else to put it, but your moon's kind of just getting assaulted this year.
Thank you.
It's important because the moon is the ruler of your chart, and the moon is also the ruler of the North Node. And you are a part of that crew that has placements in that 18 to 26 degrees of the fixed signs. So you're experiencing a grand fixed cross all year with Saturn. Now, Saturn rules in your astrology 7th house, which can be about partnerships, business, or romantic. And also Saturn does have a connection to the 8th house of changes, transformations, and karmic entanglement. So if we were to break down the archetype of, Saturn in opposition to the moon, you're going to see oppositions and challenges revolving around whether or not other people are going to make you feel safe, secure. Mm-hmm. But more so it's like about money owed or intimacy owed. So you can kind of be like, wow, why am I not connecting emotionally with other people? Why am I having issues feeling secure intimately? Why am I feeling like I'm kind of being kept from relationships, or they're kind of at a distance? Like, these are themes that can happen. Mm-hmm. But it's not just Saturn in opposition to the moon, which can talk about, also having challenges, possibly even just feeling like your needs are being met, either sexually or financially. But we've also got Uranus in a square to your moon. So that's highlighting the fact that things need to change in terms of the balance. And we've also got Uranus that is in an opposition to Mars. So I guess the good news is that by the time Saturn is coming out of these squares in the new year, things do ease up. However, you're still going to be dealing with Uranus in a square to your moon, in opposition to your Mars, for like another 2 years. So I think Saturn is more kind of like the necessary limitations that you're having with other people to help you fully emerge in this Uranus 11th house transit, to become more capable of surrounding yourself with individuals who are going to help you fulfill your dreams. Like, you have friend fallout with this square. You do, because there are some people that just aren't really on the same path that you are, in terms of being able to be like, yeah, I want to make a difference, 11th house. I want to help groups. I want to talk about astrology. I want to help save the planet. I want to grow food. Like, these are things that are very Taurus, Uranus, 11th house.
Yeah.
And you're going to find that because some people either don't share the same values as you, or some people don't see the point in investing in the same way that you do, you're going to have some people that you're going to kind of shake loose. I love the fact that this conjunction is trining your sun, though, because it does help you focus more on stability and security, and like building on self-esteem. A lot of it can be about integrity, and it can also be about developing new talents that, other people are going to recognize within you. Uranus trine your sun. But it is a stronger interest in 8th house topics, metaphysics, psychic stuff, astrology, tarot, like that you're kind of getting involved in online.
Yeah.
You're building a new community. But I'm not going to candy coat it. The square is kind of an ouch, because it's squaring your Chiron. or excuse me, conjuncting your Chiron. So you're kind of in the thick of it throughout Leo season. I'll show you right here. As planets start going into Leo and they start forming a square with Uranus, they start forming a square with the opposition to Saturn and the square to your Mars. Because this is what's being highlighted, the second house, it's like, well, what are you getting versus are other people giving?
Yeah.
A fair exchange. To me, not really. It seems like you're not getting enough in return. Now, eighth house can be everything from child support, spousal support, legal settlements. It could be about insurance money owed, dealing with debts and inheritances, that kind of stuff as well. So it depends on where you fall on that end of the spectrum. Up until your birthday, you're 40 and you're going to be 40. No, excuse me, I take that back. Up until your birthday, you're 39. You're going to be 40 in September.
Yeah.
So you are in a fourth house annual perfection year, which means you are very affected by Venus transits. So for example, here comes Venus coming into an opposition with Pluto pretty soon. And then it's going to come into a square with all your Libra. So that tells me the first half of August, there's like some like get your shit and get out of my house type of energy. You know, or
that was why I wanted this reading, is because I've got to get out of my mom's house. Like, it's super toxic. It always has been. I got divorced in 2019. I had to move back here in my mom's house. And it's not a healthy environment. I mean, I did over the last 2 years learn a lot about standing my ground and that you're not going to railroad me type of situation and try to control me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just trying to figure out now, like, I left my job, my career in 2020. And so I'm starting all over, I started a business, spiritual based business, so I've been learning a lot of astrology and, doing everything I can. So I'm just trying to like figure out how can I figure out a way to get out of this house. Like, I need a home for me and my kids,
Okay. Well, I mean, the moon is mother, right? And so, being that Saturn is in opposition to your moon, it's this feeling like your goals are pushing you, or groups or friends are pushing you to the point of being like, okay, you can do this if you're able to kind of generate some kind of, I would almost say like 11th house could be like crowdfunding. So I almost wonder if this is like you creating content that people would subscribe to. So you're bringing in something residually. And Taurus is simple. So it would be like, okay, I'm going to do horoscopes, or okay, I'm going to do channeled messages. Maybe people subscribe, they pay you, X amount of money a month, and they get to be a part of that group, right? And
Okay.
it's something that could actually bring in enough revenue for you to make a change. But yes, likely what's about to happen with Venus opposing Pluto, okay, so Venus is going to be family, Pluto is going to be your kids. One of your kids can get into like a little bit of a miff with your mom. Or your mom's going to be getting on your case about your kids. So this is going to be the strongest August 3rd, August 9th and 10th, and then it'll break. But every time planets go around this, 20 to let's say 29 degrees of cardinal, it squares and opposes Pluto. A lot of the Cancer risings that I've seen who have like the Saturn Pluto in the fourth, they've either had relationships issues that have brought them back home, or life things that have gone on and they end up going home, because you have to understand Saturn's like an anchor in your chart, right? So it's like this is a lot of karma in relation to home and family and relationship dynamic. There's always this ongoing theme of, do you go back home? What do you owe your family? What does your ex-spouse owe you? That kind of drama.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling down the road here, because you do have some stuff that kind of suggests that you are looking to move, especially when Mercury goes retrograde in your fourth house. When you're in a fourth house year, it's all about the ends of situations. So it means like you you figure out, okay, where am I going to be living? You know, am I really finally legally ending the marriage if I haven't? Do they owe me something so I can help pay for something in regards to the kids? So pay attention to that Mercury retrograde. That's going to be in your fourth in September, mid-September.
Over the last every retrograde I take off because I don't have any retrogrades in my chart. So I've found that that's like the best time for me to focus my energy and like receive the messages that I'm supposed to receive before I step back out. And I feel like I evolve so quickly and transform so often that it's like it gives everybody else time to catch up with the new.
That's a good way to use it, especially because, you know, people who, I mean, it's not often you see charts where pretty much everything is direct. So because you're more external in your energy, yeah, you're going to do better using that internally. But oh my goodness, you know, a Mercury retrograde in your fourth during a fourth house year literally says like, okay, I'm looking at other parts of the neighborhood. Okay, I'm talking to cousins, I'm talking to uncles, I'm talking to neighbors. I've got close friends, people telling me, oh, hey, there's a place, you know, that so-and-so is renting. Like something like that's likely to happen. I have a feeling that when the Sun Mercury Cazimi is taking place here around September 25th, just after the new moon, an opportunity might present itself.
Okay.
For you to, you know, be able to find something. By then, though, I want to remind you that you then move, because your birthday is going to be in September, you move from being in a fourth house annual perfection year to then you're going to go into a fifth, which is going to be more so about Mars. But what's lovely is that the sun and the moon and then eventually Venus are going to come into a trine with Mars. So I think you're getting information about moving the second half of September. I could see movement happening, you know, as Mercury is coming into a trine with Pluto, or as Venus and the sun are coming into a trine with Mars. Any which way you slice it, it's looking decent. It's hard for me to look at the eighth house Saturn transit and go, who is not helping you that's supposed to be helping you? And maybe you feel like it's too much of an emotional, you know, struggle or burden to possibly go back and forth with somebody trying to get them to pay you. But I mean, like, what's the situation there with your ex? Because usually when Saturn's in the eighth house, like if they need to be paying spousal support or child support, or if they need to be helping you in some way, you get it.
Yeah, it's a situation there. I received a letter in the mail saying that he no longer works. And so my child support stopped. And I was waiting for him to kind of address the situation. You know, he never did. So then when I saw him, I was like, you know, basically that's fucked up, to cut to the chase. That's fucked up that you wouldn't like give me a heads up to let me know that you're not working anymore. And then I said, so you're not working anymore? And he was like, yeah, I still work. And I was like, oh, where are you working? And he's still working at the same place. So he did something, but he's about to marry a lawyer.
Well, give me his birthday. Let me see his stuff.
I don't know the time, but 4/28/83. 83. That's at 84.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I got it.
Venus and Gemini. Oh boy. Well, I mean, a couple things. So, you know, in his chart, when we get to Sag season, there is going to be a Mars retrograde in his eighth house to his sun, his second house, but it's going to oppose the eighth house to his sun, where he has Neptune. If he's done anything shady or deceptive, it's likely to come out. Okay. Especially if there's been falsifying of documents, because Mars is going to go retrograde, things that he's done shadily over his Venus and his North Node.
So also, I went for TANF after that happened.
I wouldn't wait that long, actually. No, I wouldn't wait that long. I think that from what I can see, just going off of his sun sign being like, let's say his sun's near the ascendant, that's how I'm looking at it. Mars going retrograde over his Venus in opposition to Neptune in the 8th is going to be, when it comes to his new relationship, this person realizing also that he's kind of full of shit with his financial situation. They're going to realize that it's a woman.
Yeah.
And suddenly money is being taken from him, Mars retrograde over his Venus, because of what he owes in regards to his children, which in theory, documents and things would be actually processed here during Virgo season. So it kind of fits together when I look at it. It's like, what's owed to you? You know, if you do have proof that he is working, if you do go and contact child support and say, look, here's the deal. I had a conversation with him. I received this letter, said he wasn't working, but he's telling me he's working. And if you can verify his employment, I don't really care if he has an attorney. Like, the Saturn in your 8th kind of says that you're going to struggle with it a little bit, but when Saturn comes out of an opposition with your moon and out of a square with your Mars, he's going to have to pay you. And even if it takes a little bit of time, it may take until the Mercury retrograde at the new year point. In theory, you'd get paid because what he's doing is wrong. I'm not passing judgment, but Mars retrograde over his North Node, his Venus, is where he's been, you know, not being honest, 12th house, about the money that he's making, Venus, and stuff that he has signed or documents.
Yeah. I really appreciate that, because I feel like, and I kept on feeling like, you know what? Astrology is going to catch up with his ass. So I applied for TANF because they give you a welfare check if you're not getting child support. And so he doesn't realize, I guess, that all that TANF that social services are giving me, that's going to fall back on him. He's going to have to pay them, the state, back for any money they gave to take care of his children. So that was one. And then, like, when I quit my career, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and claim disability. So like, I this whole time, these last 2 years, I was putting everything in order. So like, I get disability for my daughter, you know, and now I'm getting TANF, you know, I'm just trying to use all the services I can while I'm trying to build this new business, you know?
Well, the eclipse that's, you know, technically, if we were to look at, like, let's say the sun on the ascendant, the next eclipse that's coming, the full moon in, well, there's going to be a new moon eclipse in Scorpio. So that's going to be around 2 degrees. It's in opposition to his sun. Then he's going to have a full moon Taurus eclipse that's going to be at 16 degrees. And that's going to be along his ascendant. I mean, likely everything's going to be hitting in the fall, basically, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I think of that eclipse hitting his 7th house, and his 8th house is going to be about money that's owed. I also just think that with Uranus on his Mars, you know, you got to be careful and just be mindful of who you're dealing with, because he's going to be rather angry and aggressive and reactionary, and he's not going to be very friendly. So that's all happening right now. You know, if you're dealing with a Taurus that's got Uranus on their Mars and the North Node heading for their sun, they're like, I want mine. I get what I want, you know, but it's not going to end well for him, which is why I personally feel like, yeah, whatever you have to do. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, but the 8th house is like what you spy on, right? Like, do you, you know, call and call his job just to confirm that he was employed there, and call and say, hey, you know, I'm calling from blah, 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 blah. Is this an employee? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Do you tell child support, hey, I have, you know, proof he's working there, and call and verify employment? Do you send it a certified letter saying, hey, you know, I want to verify, is this your employee? I've seen people hire private investigators also when Saturn goes through the 8th house, and like the investigator will go and take photos of somebody and be like, look, they're working at this location, or look, your wife's cheating on you, or look, they're not really injured, to be able to get proof.
Yeah.
So if you have proof that he's there, he's working there, then yeah, a lot of this stuff is ultimately going to fall back on him, but he's not going to like it.
Well, I dealt with 11 years of an abusive marriage, and one thing I've done is I'm very firm in who I am. Like, I wish he would, type of energy.
Well, I mean, I'm going to tell you, I mean, first of all, that sucks. That doesn't surprise me looking at the stellium of planets in Taurus, especially the first decan can be kind of violent. But the second one, where his eclipses are, he has this eclipse that got triggered here recently where he's just feeling a real strong need to be like, well, I'm going to get what I'm going to get because I'm owed this. So you know how this works. He's moving on to like the next victim. But
Yep.
I don't think it's going to play out in his favor with Mars going retrograde over his Venus because it's going to be something coming out about, his real behavior and how he really is financially, and it's going to hold him accountable because that North Node is going to go, you need to pay.
Well, they're supposed to get married in September, so we'll see.
Well, good, bless them. Good luck. I would say good luck to the next one.
Yeah, because like it's not my problem anymore.
Well, I mean, let's look at your.
Well, he's not really my problem, like personal problem. Like I don't live with them, praise God. I got away.
No, but I mean, you got some other stuff coming, Mama. I mean, as soon as this progressed Venus is, I mean, it already is in conjunction. Your progressed Venus is at 28. It's about to hit 29. So 29 degrees is like the mark of divorce. So maybe this is like the year that you're like, okay, I'm really putting it behind me. And then when Venus moves into Scorpio and it starts coming into conjunction, I mean, things get better from about next summer on in the love department. I can actually see there's somebody who's likely coming in, could be next summer, but right around the time this conjunction is happening and then the moon goes into your seventh house, I mean, you're in a brand new relationship within 2 years' time, and it's going to be a better one.
I just want healthy, you know what I mean? Like I've learned so much, I've grown so much, I know what I want now, and I deserve peace in my life.
Well, there's there's a kind of like a heavy karmic baggage in your fourth house. Saturn in the first house in the fourth house in itself is challenging because it's the burden of taking care of home and family. It is exalted in Libra, which means it's got a little bit more strength, and it's conjunct Pluto. So it tells me that I think what's most difficult for you is like you come from some of these issues yourself. Yeah. So the fact that history sometimes does repeat in the fourth house, where we clear all that out is when there's trines from Saturn in the eighth. So you're in it. Saturn is trining your Saturn. You're willing to purge it and release it and let it go. Learning not to close your heart off to love, and like also, allowing yourself to process and heal and grieve from anything that you've experienced really since your childhood with family trauma. But then by the time Saturn is direct and it's coming back into a trine with Pluto, it makes me feel like things are up and running. And not that you have to wait this long, but I could see like Saturn in a trine to like Pluto and Jupiter on your midheaven is like, yeah, this business it's doing its thing in the new year. And that's really allowing you to kind of get, to the next kind of steps of being able to receive all the goodies of Saturn then in a trine to your Jupiter. Saturn rules relationships, it'll rule clients, and then Jupiter rules work. So what's the plan with the work stuff that you've got going on? I mean, oh my gosh, your midheaven's at 3 degrees. So something was being worked on here in May. I mean, you've been working out for a while, but really with the Mars Jupiter conjunction on your midheaven, that's when, you really probably started putting things together. So what are you going to be launching?
That's the other thing, is like trying to figure out the focus. Like, where should I be focusing my energy? So I've been wanting to write a book for a while, but I'm really into astrology. Like, I'm just fascinated by astrology. It's always kind of talked to me in a way. And so over the last year, I've really been studying. I'm like, should I be registering for some classes, to get, real information instead of just self-taught? Should I be focusing on a book, writing my book? But I'm like, that takes time, and being that I'm trying to move, and get out of this house, it's kind of like I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to focus my energy to get the best income coming in. So I've been on YouTube, still trying to figure that out. I really am embracing more of the art of tarot. I really love the imagery of tarot. I got my Instagram page and stuff like that. It's just trying to figure out where to focus my energy. But I also had started a nonprofit back in 2016, community organizing, and a lot of the tourist stuff you were talking about, teaching people how finding resources in the community. So my background is emergency management. I was an emergency manager. I've done law enforcement. So I'm kind of using my professional background to do community organizing because, where things are going, we're going to need to know who has what. You own land. Oh, this is, how to plant stuff. Okay, maybe you can teach classes, getting together small groups. So it's like right now I've been balancing my time between wanting to offer one-on-one sessions for like tarot and astrology and, just using my own intuition and wisdom. But I also want to use part of my time building my nonprofit. But I'm like, I don't know if either one of those things is what's going to get me out this house, because that's my focus.
So, I mean, being that you're in a fourth house year, there's a lot of power up until your birthday to get moving. Once your birthday hits, like I said, then you're going to move into your fifth house year, which is going to be more about self-employment. Fifth house is joy, romance, creativity, ruled by Mars. You got Mars in this house. So the way that I see it is the move comes first. Making way and making it possible for you to really make the most of this Scorpio stellium that's coming and really hustling to be putting out some readings and doing some work. It's not going to be easy because it's going to square Saturn. So it tells me that you're having to learn how to like organically bring in clients. But that you're creative in that process. Mars also rules your 10th house. So it's like, looks to me like you're gonna be doing a lot of readings about like, working with younger people, talking about love, talking about relationships, kind of like fifth house.
So that would make sense.
Maybe you're offering something like, okay, I mean, the astrology for the rest of the year is absolutely insane. At least in my opinion. It's just it only is going to get more and more complex. And so when people start having problems with money, relationships, whatever, they get kind of crazy. So it's possible that you're looking at things going like, well, people don't have like the largest income, but maybe I can make some money by offering one-on-one sessions, or I can offer like a Patreon or a subscription or a YouTube subscription service, kind of going like, well, if you can afford $15 a month, then you're going to get readings, and I'm going to do readings for all the signs, right? I like that your Sun and your Venus are in the third, because cards make sense to you, like things that you can touch with your hand. And it's not limited to just cards. It could also be that you have an interest in looking at crystals or reading crystals or shells. Like there's other things that you can divine in the third house.
Okay.
The reason why astrology, I think, is kind of picking up for you is because you have this trine with Jupiter, which is going to be about being of service, teaching, helping people in your 10th house, trining Uranus. So that's opening up, but it's also like learning, right? So I could see how, Jupiter going retrograde in your 9th house whole sign back into Pisces could be you being like, okay, I'm going to find somebody. There's somebody that I want to work with. And I have a feeling that when Jupiter is in a trine to your Mars, you may actually commit more so to a program, but it's looking like it's a program that's going to take place at the end of the year. And especially Jupiter in Pisces, I think, is better for astrology, just personally. And it's probably going to be somebody who's got like a very different background than you. They might be younger or something like that, because I'm looking at the trines from Jupiter 9th to your 5th. I've had a lot of people ask me this, like, how do I do this? Like, what program is best? Like, where am I going to get certification? I've seen a lot of really great astrologers that have gone through like full-blown programs that don't know anything.
and that's the thing. I feel like I kind of just like listen to you and Mike, y'all have taught me so much. Y'all put out such great content. And, that was kind of the other thing. Like I was supposed to be doing this Mexico trip retreat, with Mike and Pernell. And it just fell out of alignment, long story short.
Okay.
Things were just weird and fell out of alignment. So I was actually devastated because I'm like trying to learn, how do you make a business through YouTube? You know what I mean? Like, y'all have done it. So it was like, I was looking forward to the 8 weeks post mentorship, that was supposed to be coming with that retreat. And so it was like, when that didn't happen, I had my little crybaby moment, you know what I mean? And then I was like, all right, bitch, pick your shit back up. You can't just stop. You got to keep going. So I've been taking a class. I got accepted into this program at Hampton University here in Virginia, that they're paying me a stipend to teach me about business and business planning and things like that. I'm just doing whatever drops into my lap because I don't know about business. Like, I have no idea how to market myself. I have no idea, how to make a spiritual business really pop in order for me to move. So that's why I'm like, or do I just have to buckle and go find a regular job? But it's like, I don't even want to go back into the workforce, but I know once I get my own home, as far as creativity is concerned, like, I'll be able to create so much more content when I'm in a peaceful environment,
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing is like the timing of this, even though I can see that the move is stressful, the timing of it is really bang on. Like, it is something that you are supposed to be doing, I think, sometime between now and, let's say, Thanksgiving.
But I don't have steady income. That's the problem.
Yeah. That's why I'm telling you that this period here, when you have a Mercury retrograde right before your birthday, Mercury retrograding back to your IC means that you're going to be hearing back from somebody who's going to go, yeah, I might have someone who can help you, or I might have someone who is willing to rent to you. Would you be interested? So you're going to hear the beginning process of that in September. Let's look at your solar return. So what city are you living in?
I'm living in Newport News, Virginia.
So this is your current one. So you were focusing on the money and movement. So it looks like some work stuff's going to hit right around your birthday. You got a sun in the 10th house with Mars.
Okay.
So it looks like you're trying to launch something right around your birthday. This is only up until September this year. So let's look at next year. So now this is going to be your solar return for 2022, September 14th. It's giving you a Pisces rising, ruled by Neptune. Neptune's in the first, Sun opposed Neptune. So looks to me like you're trying to keep this going in terms of like disability stuff into next year. I don't know what the deal with that is, but like you're basically trying, if you can extend this out until about March, that looks like the plan.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you have to. Now, you also will probably start taking clients because you have your whole sign 10th moving into your 7th. So this is a year of 7th house, relationships, partnering with people. Yeah, I could see the Sun opposed Neptune is like being careful because there can be people that you're interested in partnering with, but they can either be at a distance or people that you're not entirely too sure about. Any relationship in general, by the way. You will start making money doing astrology readings. I don't know how confident you're going to feel really full blown doing that until Taurus season 2023, but
yeah, and I actually just met someone. I was doing Tai Chi at the beach today. Really weird because someone just approached me, and afterwards I'm pulling cards and just watching the water and writing in my journal. And this guy that did the Tai Chi with me comes over to me, which is weird because another reader said, "You're the person you're going to be with, you're going to meet at the beach." And I'm like, what the fuck? But I don't know if that's legit or whatever, but whatever. And he asked me would I pull cards for him. And we ended up, talking for hours, and I ended up pulling his chart. So, I mean, I feel somewhat confident doing it. It's just difficult when you don't have a mentor, and it's not like I don't really have people, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm like a lone wolf out here doing this. So.
Well, I mean, I think the reason why somebody said to you, you're going to meet somebody at the beach is because seventh house to Virgo, if they knew your birthday, is Pisces. So it's not unusual for you to meet people at the beach. But in this chart, it's kind of saying you were feeling drawn to go and being by the water, and it brought somebody in.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that theme throughout this next year. I think with Sun opposed Neptune, there can be this feeling of like, what is my divine purpose? You want to be careful. You can put some people on a pedestal. Some people can put you on a pedestal, but it can also be talking about you getting more so into like filming videos and putting videos out, and people are seeing what you're doing. And I love that you're having a solar return right around your Venus return, because it's saying that it's going to be about you talking to people about relationships and talking to people about, resources in general. The reason why I say you're going to start making money doing astrology readings is because in this chart, you have the North Node in the second about money, ruled by Venus. Venus is trine in the seventh, conjunct the moon, which is a creative business using your intuition, and also conjunct Uranus, which is going to be about Aquarian things that you're learning. And it's all within that 18 degrees that's getting triggered right now. So you will be doing it, but I almost wonder if there's going to be somebody else who's going to open something up and go, hey, offering you a position, to be able to work and read for their company. I don't know how you feel about that. For some people, that's a good way to start, like
I would love to. I just don't have any.
No. But it would be, what I'm getting at is people who are in other places. So I think it's about the networks that you're making, right? Coming back to your chart. So that's why, oops, that's not it. There we go. That one. Coming back to your chart, the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction is literally saying, I'm focusing on building a group, joining a group, getting affiliated. So perhaps maybe it's about joining a group that's associated with, working astrologers. So have you looked at taking a certification course like through ISAR or through something where you're going to at least be recognized in a register of people who have passed that course?
Yeah. I've looked into it a little bit, and then I was like, I'm really fascinated by psychology because of mental health in my family, like, watching, growing up with, mental health being, a big thing in my family. So I was like, should I specialize and try to do astropsychology, or should I just be looking like for a basic level astrology course?
So Mars rules your 10th. Mars is in the 5th. It also has associations because of the squares to your moon. Psychology, therapy, I mean, you're looking at like Pluto aspects. So Pluto's been in a trine to your sun, so it's been interesting. Do I think that you need to go in that direction necessarily? No. I mean, I think that just the path of where some of these planets are going in the next year or so, Jupiter's going to move into your 11th house, and I could see you working with like groups of people. So it means that you might be, starting a group, offering group readings, maybe starting a website. I mean, it could be that you are offering, basic kind of group examples of how astrology works. It could be relating to kind of health and wellness. Uranus can be mental, sure. But I don't think that's like the end all be all for a chart like this. Like, to me, it seems like most of the money is going to be made either working with youth, 5th house, or it's going to be working with people who come from challenging home domestic zones. And they are needing to learn, and be guided when it comes to the appropriate, romantic relationship dynamics, not having abuse in the home, not having, scandals, cheating, addiction, whatever, and like really talking to people who are younger about how to avoid that.
And that feels right to me,
because that's kind of what I do. Not being a therapist, just so you know. In many ways, I read for a lot of therapists, a lot of psychologists who have gone the path of doing that. And then there's so much tape with that because they have a license, they can only do or say certain things. Like, it's harder almost to go the path of becoming the psychologist and then integrating the astrology, I have somebody who's my age, my birthday, the same thing. She did the same, she went the path of doing that. Now she's trying to figure out how to get out of it because she wants to do this. You can learn a lot and do a lot by workshops and going and studying with people. And I think Jupiter in your ninth house this year is saying like there's supposed to be a mentor or somebody who kind of comes in, but you might be working with them through a screen, right? Jupiter and Pisces.
So do I need to do anything? Like, how do I attract?
I can make some recommendations to some things that I think you would be good at. One thing that I think that you would be good at with your Saturn conjunct Pluto is something called family constellation work. Have you heard of that?
No.
So family constellation work, there are places that you can, teachers, they sometimes do stuff in the Bay Area. They have centers, I'm sure, or groups all over the country. But basically they take groups of people and they, it's one of the more like crazy spiritual things I've ever seen. Like they take a group of people, they pull somebody from the audience and they go, okay, we're going to work with some kind of family trauma or some issue that you have in your family. What is the problem? Okay, we're going to act out the scene. So they bring another representative, they put them in the center of the circle and they go, you're going to be mom. Okay, two strangers who don't know each other, they start channeling and they're guided by the person who's guiding the family constellation to channel those spiritual energies and start working out the karmic issues. And you watch it like a play. It sounds weird, but it's like people are almost like possessed by the spirit and they go through the whole process of working everything out, and it's very therapeutic.
So speaking of channeling, because I mean, I haven't had a lot of readings because like I said, I just got into this stuff and I don't trust many people. So, but like, it feels like I have so many gifts. I don't know how to use them. Like, I love astrology. It's like something I really enjoy learning. But then it's like, I have felt, mediumship, coming through. And it doesn't surprise me because when I was a kid, dead relatives visited me multiple times, and over the last year, it's like it's gotten stronger. And then a reader told me, oh, you can even get into shamanism. I'm like, okay, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's so many things. It's like, I need some real direction here. Like,
well, you could do mediumship. That's not for everyone. It wreaks havoc on the body. So if you're going to do that, it's really important that you work with somebody to know how to do it. The reason why you channel anything in relation to the dead is because you've got Mercury, which is the messenger, the ruler of your 12th and also your 3rd, in conjunction to Saturn, which is deceased, and Pluto, which is the underworld. So you have aunts, uncles, cousins, people coming to you, right? Yeah. Elderly relatives. One thing you can do to expand on that, like the relationship that you have with them, obviously when you get into your own space, is like, I look at this and go, oh, you need a family altar where you have your photos of your people and you can, have your tobacco and your offerings and your sage, whatever it is that you want. Because this is about honoring the past. That's what this is about. We look to the past. So when you have a strong stellium in the 4th, even though you're a Virgo, you might as well be a fucking Cancer because you act like a Cancer. You never forget the past. You never give up the past to the point where it can haunt you. When you learn to transmute that energy and you don't let the relationships of your past or your family history bog you down, you start using the past to teach other people so that way they can build strong foundations for their future and they're not falling back into old patterning. So I look at this and go, wow, you would benefit from being somebody who gets involved in astrology work, because astrology does talk about where we come from on a soul level. You would be somebody who would do really well with family constellation work, or possibly some kind of womb healing, working with women in the womb space. Where women,
you said working with who?
With wombs, like women and wombs, like womb healing, anything in relation to being able to clear energy from, trauma with mothers to trauma with birth to reproductive stuff. You also may be somebody who would do really well doing some kind of work that's like, using your intuition. I mean, I usually assess what somebody does for a living by looking at their midheaven, which is Aries. So it doesn't surprise me that you've been in, police enforcement, or you've done something that's kind of like a little bit more an authority figure out in the world. But
Mhm.
your Mars is in Scorpio, which wants to be more so working with using your intuition to combat things, not actually, having to enforce
Okay.
things on other people. This is also saying part of your quote unquote job is about being a parent. I'm not going to send you on a wild goose chase. I think that if you're going to do mediumship, then you want to get serious and you want to work with somebody who's going to teach you how to do it. And the difference between mediumship and working with clairvoyant readings is like clairvoyants just shoot out and they receive information. Mediums can do that, but they put a lot of stress on their body. And there's many of them like smoke or they drink or they eat, because weight and pain are the two things that ground you. And mediums spend a lot of time out of their body. So I've seen a lot of people go into mediumship and they have lots of issues with their body because they don't know how to properly ground themselves.
Yeah.
So for you, I could see you bringing somebody in, especially when Jupiter goes retrograde here and it starts trining your Mars again, to start working in the realm of being able to channel. But I think, just to be completely honest with you, with this North Node coming into your 10th house, whatever you're building really now through 2024 is really important. And even then, after that, when Neptune and Saturn enter into Aries, that tells me in 2025 and 2026, like, then you're going to start training people. So you'll only be doing what you're doing for so long. And like, that's just kind of the way that it goes too, because you'll be doing this work to a point where you're like, man, I can't take any more clients. Like, I have to start training people because that's really the only other option that I have. So it won't be all on you forever, basically. I think you're going to do the best personally, having a job that you can work from home, like bottom, like hands down, because of this heaviness that you have in your fourth. That if you feel like you don't have people who are interfering and messing with your space, if you don't feel like you got a husband, that's a problem. If you're not arguing with your mom and you have your own room to work from, then the lesson is going to become, personally, just somebody who also has a stellium of planets in my fourth house with Saturn. You don't bring clients home. It's just not something you do. It will disrupt your home big time with your transits here. If you're bringing clients home, it's going to create problems, and that energy, according to your chart, is going to seep in and it's going to affect your back. You're going to have back problems.
Okay.
And you're also going to have issues with relationships. So there needs to be really strong, firm boundaries with, I don't talk to clients about my private life, Saturn Libra. I don't bring clients home. I have a ritual where maybe I go to my room, I do my work. When I'm done, I, smudge myself, sage myself, close space, and then I leave. There needs to be really firm boundaries when it comes to the work that you do at home. And also you're going to benefit by being a little bit more cautious about how much of your private life you tell your family and not getting them involved in your private stuff, because that will also.
I don't tell them anything, to be honest. So don't work from home?
No, you can. I would just, and you're going to want to with your astrology. I would just say, ideally, you have a space that you can be doing it. This isn't something you want to do in the living room with a chart like this, right? You have Saturn,
like
Pluto.
Separate, like office room.
Yep. Yeah.
For that.
Where you can leave it. And also, I don't want you sharing that room with another person. So it's not like a room that becomes a guest room. It's not a room that when you have somebody in the house, you're sharing an office. That needs to be your space.
And best and probably like focused would be to look into learning astrology, getting, some type of certification, and the family constellation astrology looks good for my future.
I think the family constellation work can be nice in terms of a supplementary thing. What it's like, some astrologers, they just want to look at the chart and they want to diagnose, and they'll send them off to a healer. Some astrologers are like, hey, I can make recommendations. I mean, the fourth house is the roots. So the question is, do you want to work with people's roots in a spiritual sense by, telling them what they can be doing with the family constellation work? Do you want to learn something in regards to meditation and, healing modalities to help people heal? Do you look into hypnosis? Do you decide that you want to actually work with roots and herbs? I see a lot of people who have a stellium in the fourth house and they're like root workers. Literally, that's what it means. They work with the roots. So they can basically say, yeah, I can fix you a bath, but you have to understand what those plants mean, right? And what they do. So that's what also is kind of cool about your chart, is I was noticing that was on Libra. So to me, it seems like, yeah, okay, in your family history, you got some drama in terms of relationships, but you also have artists, you have creatives, you have designers, you have people who have like a really strong kind of aesthetic touch. Is that true?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, my dad left when I was 4 or 5 years old. He's actually a doctor and ended up getting incarcerated. So he's actually in prison right now. And I just started reconnecting with him, trying to know who he is and his side of the family. And of course, Cancer rising and all that in the 4th, I'm really big on family, but at the same time, it's been a struggle because it's so much drama, you know what I mean? And my family full of women.
Well, it's drama, but it's drama because usually the Saturn Pluto is an indication of infidelity. So I don't know if it was like he had another family or, but that's part of it. So part of what's going on right now with Saturn in your 7th coming into a trine with Pluto is like, you're basically, instead of dealing with all the bullshit with your husband, you're finally going to the root of the issues and you're kind of cleaning out the family closet. And when you have, Venus square your Pluto and oppose Pluto, that seems a little intense, whether that's with your mom, your family in general. This is the next 2 weeks. But then it's going to clear. But I have this really strong feeling that like there may be a modality that you create, going and looking at people's astrology and being able to kind of piece it together and figuring out and realizing, where do these patterns come from and how you can work with clients to help them undo those patterns.
Now that feels like me and how I have been reading charts, and that's why I was excited. I'm on my reading and my time's almost up. So
you're fine. Go ahead.
That was my daughter. She just got home. I'm trying to make use of all this little bit of time, and that was why I was drawn to you after so much time. Hi, nice car. Okay, it's okay. It's hot anyway. I'm glad y'all had a good time though.
I invited a bunch of my friends like last week.
Sorry, Candace.
No, you're okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
I didn't want to just be upset. So maybe tomorrow they'll come. If not, we'll just go.
Okay. Well, she says she's coming to church tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm being forced to sing.
Well, parents do that.
I was willing to sing one song, and then my mom forced me to sing another song that I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's good seeing you. I love the new car. Glad you made it here safely from Florida. Okay.
I'm trying to go back to the hotel. I only have like 5 hours of sleep.
That's another reason why y'all didn't need to go to Busch Gardens. You just got here today. Doing too much. Get you a nap though. Bye. I'm the auntie. I'm the auntie for everybody. So when you said about kids, it's like I have a 22-year-old niece and she's always calling me like crisis. And I've been teaching the kids astrology, as I learn it, keywords like, hey, okay, what's opposite of Cancer? And they're like Capricorn. I'm like, got it. You know what I mean? So, I'm trying to teach them because it's been such a confirmation for me being so hermited for so long. It's like there is a reason that all this happening. You know what I mean? Like I'm not just floating out here lost in space.
It's not often that I see a stellium of planets in the 4th house that doesn't come with a really heavy, like I said, experience with family but down the road materializes as like a very wise person who knows that family is not just the family that you're born into, but the family that you create, because you end up bringing in family along the way. So kind of like the way that I look at it is that even though right now there is like a sense of feeling rejected, really working through family rejection, whether that's the family you're living with or your ex-husband, whatever, because what's getting ready to emerge when Jupiter goes into your 6th is it's setting you up and basically giving you a way to be able to kind of teach and help other people. You don't know how that's going to play out. It may be that you start teaching, kids, but then it inspires you to go, oh, what if I put together a program that was like literally teaching people about their kids' astrology, or teaching kids about astrology, the very basics, so they know how it works. So at least they have a better understanding of who they are. So they're more conscious of their own individual talent. Working with kids is a theme here, big time. You may find that you end up doing well just offering, chart analysis for children. That would be somewhere I would start, because having that Mars and Scorpio, other people's resources, you're going to see planets are going to go through here, and you can be offering just very basic love readings, very basic, children's readings. Those would be the 2 things I would start with, where you're willing to do a chart analysis for those 2 things. And then, like I said, look for the fall that there's probably going to be somebody who you're going to end up working with, or somebody who you're going to end up training with. But ultimately, you're going to have your own business. So even if you end up doing work for other people, whether you decide that you want to launch it out the gate and do it on your own, or you decide that you're going to work for another company or something for a period of time before you really go out on your own in 2025, that's when the tide kind of starts to turn.
Okay.
But 5th house year, no better time to launch a business. So that's basically what you're coming into here in September. Just a word to the wise though, girl, because you're having a 5th house year and you have eclipses happening in your 5th house. Be very careful, because sometimes I see people get pregnant.
Can't happen, girl. I'm done.
The 5th house, keep an eye on your kids and them dating and starting to get interest in, younger people, because that is something that can happen. Or I have seen 5th house eclipses, because it is ruled by Mars, and at least it's going to be sextiling Pluto, bring in new potential relationships. And the horoscope for Virgo is pretty good. You got, Jupiter 7 houses from your sun, but you're going to be meeting people who are mystical and magical, or they, practice Tai Chi, or, people who are teachers or educators, or they're culturally different in some way.
Yeah.
When you have a very strong Saturn transit, relationships will appear. Well, you got Saturn that's going to go direct, and it's going to trine your natal Saturn. So relationships really open up for you in the new year. You're also going to see that with the nodes coming into a square with Pluto, it's wanting to usher in what's going to be new relationships in general next year. And I do see in your chart 2 marriages. You have the one to the person that, you end up having a life with, but you're clearing a lot of family karma. That's your Saturn, your first marriage. And then your second one is relating to the 9th house. It's Jupiter. And you've got Jupiter conjunct Juno. It means you're going to end up meeting this person, and they're going to have something connected to your work. You either work with them or you end up meeting them through work. And likely what's going to happen is this person might pop in here May through next summer.
Okay.
And 5th house.
It's so funny that you said that, because I was like, I am not getting married again. Like, been there, done
more
that.
Spiritual. Juno and Neptune conjunct is like a spiritual union. And it's somebody who you might have like a ritual or something with, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get married again. You could though.
Yeah. Another astrologer told me that. She was like, I actually see that you're gonna end up with someone again. And I'm like, and I mean, I'm open to love. Like, I'm learning to open my heart, and that, I've done all this work, and I know that the next person will be the right match for me, and will be a spiritual match for me, because that's been the big thing for me. It's like, I want to make sure that the love I'm attracting into my life, whether that's friends or, my new community, soul family, whatever, or a partner, that they respect my spiritual practices, and that they can teach me something too. You know, I'm always trying to learn, you know, something
You'll know
new.
who it is because he'll be culturally different than you. You got Neptune conjunct Juno, the ruler's Jupiter, and Jupiter's in the fourth. So he might be a little younger than you.
Look, speaking of younger, the guy that approached me today, and we had like the longest conversation, great conversation about metaphysics and all kinds of stuff, the occult and everything. And it was great. And then I was like, how old are you? And he's like, I'll be 25 next month. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yep.
I'm like a fucking cougar out here.
They might be younger, but they might also be like culturally different. They might have a bit of a different background.
Interesting.
But yeah, you'll end up doing that. That'll happen. You'll see the Jupiter trine Neptune is likely really strong. Could be somebody who comes to you as a client, could be somebody that you end up working with, but I would look for that like next spring going into next summer. Okay. And then, you know, you break out of old relationship patterns next summer once that square is out of this with Pluto.
Okay.
And then I could see as Saturn goes into your 9th house and it's coming into a trine with your Mars, that probably sometime in 2020, end of 2024 going into 2025, there is a commitment to somebody. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You'll do it again. You don't think you will, but you will.
Yeah. I believe it.
The second one will work with you in some way. He'll help you. You know, he'll help you, or he'll teach you, or he'll have a background, and you could meet him while you're going through studies or courses or something like that here.
So back to that part. Mm-hmm. You know, what my love, whenever he comes, I'll be open and ready to receive. So, but as far as work, I hear that astrology is definitely a pathway for me, for sure. So I'm on the right track with that. Looking into getting some actual type of certification, if for no other reason than to build my confidence with giving readings.
Yeah, I mean, you can go through a private program. You can go through ISAR. I mean, I know ISAR does do the testing at the events that they have. I think you can do it online now, if I remember correctly, because I was going to go to ISAR in December. Somebody offered to give me their tickets, but I can't swing it. So those, if you look at the ISAR website, it's ISAR.
Okay.
You may be able to go and see. I know that there's like an open book certification test. And it's, I think when people sit for it, it's 6 hours long, but I think since COVID, they're offering the tests online, I believe. Okay. And, you know, it's just one of the more prestigious, well-known, you know, groups. I mean, I do think.
Is it like a long program, or is it like a study?
No, it's just like you just sit and take the test. But prior to taking the test, which is open book, I think it costs like a couple $100 to take the test.
Okay.
You do have like an ethics course or like a workshop that you can take. And I think it's required that you take the ethics course, just so it's like about like what you should and should not answer and like how to handle clients. Okay. And then I think there's another one that's like on like, you know, counseling relationships. So I'm pretty sure it's only like 2 basic courses or workshops that you take.
Okay.
Prior to sitting for the test. So I've seen people who will go out there and do the 2 workshops and then take the test, and then you're quote unquote certified. It just means that you met their standards of understanding and comprehending astrology. But there is certain things in there that's like geometry, and they're going to ask you about actual orbits of things and like how to understand orbits. It depends on how much you want to spend. I mean, I'll tell you, just being somebody who's been through a few programs, like I said, I've seen people who are self-taught that are phenomenal, and I've seen people who have gone through programs and they don't know anything. I'm a big fan, depending on the astrology that you like. You know, I studied with a couple of people. I went through Jeffrey Wolf Green's evolutionary course, which took a really long time to do, and it's more so kind of psychological. There's like a huge emphasis on the nodes and Pluto. But I also have gone through, you know, courses working with I took like stuff from Stephen Forrest. Like I've just been studying for 14 years, and I just take, you know, workshops and classes and courses of people that I want. Probably my favorite teacher though that I've had that I think is very thorough and really great, and he does programs twice a year is Nightlight Astrology. Akshuta Baba does really great. I took his horary course. It's very, very, very thorough. It's a year of learning horary. I know he does beginner's astrology, and it takes a year, and it's like they meet once a month. Once a week, I believe. He has throughout the year 12 other teachers that will come in and lecture who are like well-known astrologers. He has assistance programs. So if you're like a single mom and if you're struggling or if you need assistance, you can send them an email and you can apply. And be like, hey, you know what? I'm trying to start my business. And they do give scholarships for partial, or I don't think full, but I think they do partial scholarships. And they also set it up so you can pay on payments. And I believe beginner astrology is like around, I want to say it's between $1,000 and $1,500, but it's a whole year. So if you end up getting a scholarship and
that's not bad, because the program I'm taking at Hampton University, the stipend is $3,000. So that was another reason why I was like, I need to figure out what is the best way to spend this $3,000,
I would really look into his program, because I believe I didn't take his beginners, but I know students of mine who have. I teach beginners astrology too. Let me see. Astrology courses. So it's a 12-month online course, and it is considered like you do get a certification working with him. And it looks like the next time they're going to be doing it is going to be mid-November. There you go.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, personally, just if I feel like if people ask me, hey, I want to learn more about astrology, I would say, cool, take my course. But I think that if you were to take my course, a lot of the things you're already going to know, because I start from the basics. I haven't gotten into level 2. I'm going to start teaching level 2 astrology in the end of this year. So it's going to be me working with students who already know the houses and the signs. I'm going to start teaching return charts, solar return charts, progress charts. I'm going to teach about the beginnings of relationship astrology. I'm also going to teach people how to read transits the way that I do. So if that's something you want to do, I'm happy to, work with you later this year. I try to keep all my courses affordable. So if people sign up for the live courses, usually we meet every week. It'll probably be like 8 weeks long. I usually charge somewhere between, $200 and $300 for the class.
Okay.
And you get homework, and I give certifications to people. So for all my students, I think I had 65 students in my beginner's astrology class. Only 2 people could pass the test. So I'm curious to see how many people take level 2, but I know that there are a lot of people that are like, look, I don't want to do the beginner's class. I want to do level 2. So I have a feeling there's probably still going to be about between 40 and 50 people in level 2, which was going to start.
Well, it sounds challenging, your course. And after seeing your webinar, which was amazing, and yes, I am going to do a review. I did get your email. I had to watch it again. I put the timestamps on stuff for quick reference when I go back, because your weekly stuff, man, when I say on point, you called and you said something about one day this week, it was a healing conversation, and my brother literally called, and none of us talk to each other. Like, it's a really fucked up family dynamic, but
it's hard out there for Cancer risings. I think it's just, to be honest with you, it's like I'm getting to the point where my whole MO, and the reason why I've been focusing on teaching classes again, because I did it for many years in LA, but my life's changed a lot the last couple of years. Now I live somewhere else. So I'm teaching these courses with intention after, 2, 3, 4 levels. Once I have a couple people that I feel like can be competent enough that can show me, okay, they know what they're doing. My plan is just to offer a couple people to come and work for me. I'm probably only going to pick about 3, 4, 5 people. But that's my goal in the next year, is to like train people and work with them to the point where I'm like, okay, they know what they're doing and they need some help. And I'm also playing with the idea of like maybe doing a course in the next year, teaching people how to set up their business, because I've been running my own business for like the last 8 years.
Yeah.
So I kind of got ahead of the curve. I was doing it before, everybody decided it was popular. So I feel like, I'm willing to help people. So if that's something you want to do, if you ever want to come and study with me, I mean, I was talking to my husband about this last week, because I was like, yeah, I'm going to be having this reading with her, because you always put the time codes, and we wanted to gift you a webinar. So the next time I'm teaching a webinar, which is probably going to be sometime this fall, when I start promoting it and putting it out there, just remind me, and I want to send you an email, and I want to give you a free admission to the webinar so you can come in, you can study. I'm going to probably be doing one on, I might do one on the Mars retrograde. I'm definitely going to be doing them on the eclipses, and the eclipses I'm going to start teaching relationship astrology. So you can decide which one you want to use it on. But I would like to gift that to you just as appreciation for you always popping on and doing that. It's really cool.
Thank you. I'm completely humbled, thankful. Like, you know, I figured, you know, I'm single mom, left my career like a crazy person. People were like, you're doing what? You're leaving the health department? Yeah, I'm leaving the health department. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I said, if there's nothing else I can do, and I'm just, you know, with the Virgo, I'm like, I got to make this clean, you know, and your stuff is so good and so orderly. Maybe it's your Libra rising, you know, that just speaks to my Libra Mercury or something. I don't know, but it's like, it's always so clean. And it's so easy for me to go back and be like, today was a crazy ass day. Let me see what Candace said on this day for about this day. And it syncs up. It's like, oh, okay, that explains it. And then, or if I'm, you know, dealing with something, I'm like, you know what, let me go see what the transits are. And, you know, I look at the transits for myself, but it's just been such a help. And I'm definitely, you know, thinking that, you know, your courses might be best for me. One, because you've read my chart, you know, you kind of see what might be, you know, you can kind of see the light a little more than I can. I don't know if it's because my moon is behind my sun, but I always feel like I'm walking blind. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely like to do that, especially like, you know, earn your respect, learn, you know, learn as much as I can. Because I do feel like I have like a really good grasp. Like, astrology just makes sense to me, but to know that I know, you know, what I'm talking about would definitely help me feel more confident and helping build my business. So
yeah, let's do it. I mean, I think, you know, for Virgo, for the horoscope, just Jupiter and Uranus coming together next year and into 2024, it's 9 houses from your sun. So group work, group learning, I mean, astrology is supposed to be unifying. So we're kind of stuck in a way where we're doing the stuff where we're doing it digitally, which is fine, but we learn the best while we have other people to work with. So regardless of who you work with, I'm happy to have you in my classes. Make sure that you're interacting with other people, because part of what I see that you're working through is also feeling like you're the Lone Ranger, because you don't have to be alone. You might have friends with people that you start making in other places, and very likely you're going to have opportunities to do retreats in the next year. So there's still time for that.
Okay.
And I think that that's something very magical that's kind of missing right now. You know, some of the best things that I've done is like going to lectures live and like meeting, you know, other astrologers. And like, that's something that we need to kind of bring back. So I'm hoping that just with where the world is kind of going next year, that's kind of some stuff that we can be doing. And Mike and I are talking about trying to do that too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with it. I think it's just because it's a new world for me. You know, like, I used to travel for work all the time for like emergency management conferences and things like that. And so, but that was like my realm. Like, I got that. Like, and so now it's like moving into an intuitive business. It's like, well, how do you really quantify that? Like, how do you really, like, you know, find the right people to be around and learn from and things like that. But yeah, I definitely want to open up and find more people. And like I said, I thought that was what was going to happen for the retreat. You know, I was really excited to connect with, you know, the other retreat participants and things like that. I mean, it all happened the way it was supposed to happen. I'm not like upset or anything. It just, like I said, it fell out of alignment. It just didn't make sense anymore. Like, and then I realized that I didn't feel like, not boastfully, but I didn't feel like what it became wasn't gonna meet my standard. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need somebody that's a little deeper. That, you know.
it's the earth that's in your chart. You know, I mean, my Jupiter's right on your North Node. So I'm I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do that. I think maybe if these classes end up rolling around and it's something that's in alignment that you want to do, I like teaching the classes the way that we're doing it. We film it. It's about a 2-hour lecture, and then we have interaction and Q&A after each class. And then we have like a community group. And I think the next go around, we're going to try to create a Discord or something. We have a Facebook group, but I think we're going to try to do a Discord. So as the levels go up, we're going to see there's going to be less and less people, because not everybody wants to do it professionally, but I think it's going to kind of clear out the people who are wanting to do it because they just want to learn how to do it versus the people who are wanting to do it professionally. And by the time I think we have that group of people next year, then I'm probably thinking about opening up, probably going to be like a subgroup of my business. So I have people that I've worked with that are certified that will basically work for my company. That's my plan.
Okay.
So at least I know that if I'm able to help more people, because we have more people who are working for my team. And I also know that I have people that I've trained that I feel are confident that they know what they're doing.
Yeah. So it sounds like whether it's love or mentors or whatever, it seems like as the transits happen, it'll start to unfold. So I just need to keep focusing on what I'm doing.
You can't really go wrong with Jupiter in your 10th house and then when the North Node shows up. So the one thing you want to be looking at is the eclipses that are coming in spring of 23, because you got a North Node eclipse at the top part of your chart conjunct Jupiter. It's all going to oppose your 4th house, which means it's pulling you out of your home. So perhaps maybe, next spring there is going to be in-person training, or there's going to be some retreats, or there's going to be you being out in the world, and you're going to get pulled out of your family home anyway, one way or another, with that eclipse that's coming. So it's like Jupiter together, I think, is pretty damn good in your chart for the next year.
and so the home thing, that's gonna start clearing up too. Like I will be getting out of this home because I
think that you're gonna hear from a sibling or a cousin or a neighbor, somebody in the midst of this Mercury retrograde that's going to be happening in Virgo, from Libra to Virgo, that there's a solution that's being presented. And then
I think it's going to be my neighbor. Actually, his wife died this year, and so I've been hanging out with him, checking on him a lot. And he actually has rental properties, and he ended up having an exchange with my sister who's mentally not well. And so now he's aware of kind of the family dynamic that's been kept secret forever. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, wow, I didn't even know all this was going on behind closed doors, and he sees now. It's like, oh, wow, like it's a fucked up situation you're in, but I've become very, very spiritually strong during this last 2 years for sure. But it's my time. It's time to go.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you that whatever is setting up here, because that is going to be, in a trine to Uranus, and it's also going to be in a trine to Pluto. It might be a little bit of like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You want to help me? Do you want to help manage things? Let me help get you into a place.
Okay.
So that's very possible, or at least giving you some kind of discounted something for what you're willing to kind of take on. So
yeah.
Keep listening to your horoscope for Cancer. Obviously, you're kind of on the brink of the end of that second decan. So some of the Cancer predictions might take a little bit longer to manifest. This is a chart that's going to expand and kind of change a lot. That's going to be happening in December and then spring of next year. Those could be check-in points if you ever need another reading. I'll save your info. So if you need to check in with me again, I'm happy to talk to you. Let me stop this.